Hey everybody, Kirk here. Thanks so much for inviting us into your homes once again. Before we get started, I wanted to remind you that the digital bulletin is the best place to get everything you need for the weekend service. You can find that through a link on our website or through our North Coast app. With it, you can take sermon notes, donate, and even fill out a communication card. Whether that's a question, a comment, or a prayer request, we'd love to know what that is. We'd love to be praying for you. And honestly, we'd love to just be connecting with you at this time because we miss you. I know you've been hearing us say that a lot lately, but it's true. And for those of you that came out to our canned food drive, it was amazing to actually get to see some of you in person, even if it was from 6 feet away. If you didn't get a chance to see it, here's just a glimpse at what it looked like. Check it out.
Hey, North Coast Church, did you know that you have a reputation? Let me tell you about it. You see, in the middle of this COVID craziness, a lot of local food pantries have found out that their needs and their supplies, they're dwindling. For example, Interfaith Community Services, they found out that what was supposed to last until the end of fall was quickly drying up. Before COVID, they were providing emergency food assistance to about 80 people every single day. Yesterday, that number was 600 people. And with that number increasing, their food supply was quickly decreasing. So they thought, who should we reach out to? And that's where your reputation comes in. They reached out to North Coast Church and said, would you guys be willing to hold a canned food drive for us? So we put a blast out to all of you guys and all of our different campuses and said, let's hold a weekend food drive for everything that the local food banks might need. And we said, well, Interfaith Community Services, what's a good canned food drive look like? And they said, well, the best one we've ever had, we did the entire city of Escondido a few years back during the holiday season, and they brought in 45,000 pounds of food. That's a great food drive. Well, with just the North Coast Vista and North Coast San Marcos campuses that were supporting Interfaith Community Services, we brought in 99,000 pounds of food, more than doubling the best food drive they've ever seen. You see what I'm talking about, your reputation? But guys, that's just the Vista and San Marcos campus. Now let's dive into what the other campuses did as well for their local food pantries. Vista campus alone had 1,100 cars come through and filled 15 box trucks full of food. The San Marcos location was 23,000 pounds of food, and Jay talked about how great it was to see everyone again. At our Carlsbad campus, they supported a local charity called Got Your Back San Diego, and they raised 8,000 pounds of food for Got Your Back, the largest food drive they had ever seen in their 10-year history. In Palma Valley, Chase, the campus pastor, said how important it was and how much it was needed, not just for the people who needed food, but for us to be able to provide for them. And they brought in 700 pounds of food for their personal food bank. At our Rancho Bernardo campus, they brought in 4,000 pounds of food, plus a ton of baby stuff, hygiene that's not even counted in that. Out in Fallbrook, they brought in 6,600 pounds of food for the Fallbrook Food Pantry. And out in Ramona, over 2,000 pounds of food and clothes for the Ramona Food and Clothes Closet. They said that'll be enough to last them all the way through Christmas. That means, with all of our campuses supporting their various food pantries, you brought in over 120,000 pounds of food. That's 60 tons to support our local food pantries. You see what I mean about your reputation? When local people are in need, I love that North Coast is a beacon of hope and light and help for the community around us. That's Jesus working through us to reach those that are in need. North Coast, how could we be any more proud of the church that we serve and the people who are a part of it? And that's all about your commitment to showing who Jesus is to our local community. We love you guys, and you came through again in the biggest way. Can't wait for the next opportunity we have to show the world around us what Jesus has done in our lives.
For those of you that were able to come out and join us, thanks so much. I feel like I had one more announcement for this weekend, but I can't quite remember what it was.
Kirkland?
Yes, Mother?
I think you have forgotten something important.
No, I was just saving the most important for the end. That's right. Happy Mother's Day weekend, everybody. Moms, we love you so much. We appreciate you. We understand that during this quarantine, your roles are more unique and in some ways more important than ever. So thanks so much for what you do. Make sure you give your mom some extra love this weekend. Right now, we're gonna join Russ in the warehouse. Hope you enjoy. Hey, I love you.
I love you.
Hey, church. My name is Russ Freshwater. I'm the worship pastor at our Carlsbad campus, and just really excited to lead you in worship today. And the song that we chose, the chorus says this. It says, "We place our trust in the arms of the Father, who's seen our past and carries tomorrow. You are all we need. Teach us how to honor you more. And, that's exactly what we want to do during this time. I struggle with trust. I struggle with where my source of encouragement, of truth is. And if that's in the news, that's going to change from day to day. It's going to change so many times, and we can't find it there. But where we can find it is in the God that never changes. The Bible tells us that he's the same God yesterday, today, and forever. He's the same God that was in the desert. He's the same God that was in the fiery furnace. He's the same God that was in the lion's den. And that's the same God that we serve today. And he's here with us. The bridge tells us this. We simply just proclaim, Lord, you never fail, not even once. A surrendered life is our response. And so join us today. May our response be in the God whose track record is simply flawless. He never fails, and he is truly our source. So join us. Let that be our response today. Let us sing.
Will promise trouble. Your goodness will not crumble. You have our full attention. Speaking, we will listen. For you, place our trust in the arms of the Father who has seen our past and carries tomorrow. You are all we need. Teach us how to honor you more. Your heart and must be broken to bring you full devotion. We choose to trust you daily, and you reward us greatly. Oh Lord, we place our trust in the arms of the Father who has seen our past and carries tomorrow.
Hey, North Coast, and all of you watching and listening from afar, thank you once again during this time for inviting us into your home and into your life. It is an honor and a privilege that we don't take lightly. Now, let me warn you ahead of time. There are 13 moving pieces in this message, including 3 videos and a surprise ending. I know. So hopefully right now, you've got your favorite bowl of munchies, you've got a nice drink going on, you're in your PJs, you're on the couch, you're in your lazy boy, you're getting comfortable. Buckle up if you got a seatbelt around, because this is going to be a ride. We are covering a lot of things, primarily one, that the church will never be closed. There's a lot of talk about churches closed right now, and let me tell you, and I'm going to encourage you, and I'm going to applaud you on why North Coast has never been closed and why it will never be closed. And as we jump through all these moving pieces, I want you to keep one word in mind. Today's golden thread is serving. Serving. If we jump from piece to piece to piece and you go, where are we going? Where are we going? All you need to remember is one word, serving. Okay? Did you get that? Boys and girls, watch, listen. The word for today is, okay, now you got it. And now you know the golden thread that everything we're about to do is going to hang on. First of all, I just got to start off in saying, wow! You have impressed us, you have blown us away, and you have greatly impacted all the cities in North County because of what you took part in last weekend. We just gave one little shout out. Hey, all of our food banks in the area are desperately low right now. We've been asked to help. I know you probably saw the video ahead of time from Chris Hilkin, and we just said, North Coast, can you drive by and drop off some canned goods and some non-perishable items? Wow! 121,000 pounds of food you dropped off at our 7 campuses last week. 121,000 pounds. That is a little over 60 tons of food dropped off by North Coasters. I was on the Vista campus for about 8 hours, 4 hours in the morning just watching cars roll in. Connor McFadden, our pastor of community service, Mary Bishop, and the rest of that team just said, well, let's know what we're doing here. They put my son way down at the corner of this property in the back where the line started with a little clicker. He counted 1,180 cars that came through just the Vista campus alone. I know it was short-lived, but it gave us so much life just seeing life on the campus. So many of you filled cars with posters and signs. Life groups came in parades, honking. And just for 5-10 seconds while we were loading and unloading, just be able to love on you guys and to see the love in your face. And it was so great to see you guys again. I don't know how many times I was able to look at you in the eye and just go, hey, put the car in park. You need to put the car in. If you put the car, now we can open the trunk. But it was worth saying 1,000 times. We absolutely love seeing you guys and what you did, 120,000 pounds of food. And yet Connor came up to me afterwards and said, Chris, do you realize all that we're doing right now during this time? And I go, yeah, probably not. Can you tell it to me? And as he started speaking, I said, Connor, can you send me an email? In the last few weeks, you guys are just keeping on top of groceries for senior citizens in the area with the City of Oceanside and Foundations for Senior Care in Fallbrook. You are serving dinner every week at the Bread of Life and Operation Hope. You're partnering with the Rock Church and helping them update 300,000 N95 masks for our healthcare workers. Updating 300,000 masks for our healthcare workers. You're writing letters to seniors and encouraging them and making sure they have what they need at home so they don't have to leave. Spanish Ministry is delivering groceries to families that need it the most. We're partnering with Interfaith to help them serve over 6,000 meals a day. Palma Valley alone, you guys are doing 2,000 meals a week. You used to do that a month, and you stepped it up, and now you're doing that weekly. You're making sandwiches and toiletry kits being put out by Interfaith. The blood drive that we had scheduled for this next month is completely filled. Every spot is taken. Meals for first responders are being delivered. Snacks for nurses at the local hospitals. Face shields have been provided to every local hospital in our area by North Coasters. And let me reiterate once again, you cannot close the church, and the church will never be closed. North Coast, way to go during this time. Unbelievable. Your heart for reaching our community before you ever expect our community to come in and reach to us. And we absolutely love it. The largest food drive in the history of Southern California. And you have filled 5 food banks completely full for the months to come and helping needy families. Not even alone talking about all of you that volunteer at those food banks, making sure that food goes out. Wow. Way to go, North Coast. I tell you, in the midst of opening and closing your doors and delivering bags to the curb last week, so many of you asked the simple question, hey, when are we going to open the doors of the church? When is church going to open? Which brings us to our next one. When do the buildings open again? And as I say this, I want you to keep in mind, what's the word for today? Serving. I do not, listen to me, I do not want you to hear this through a political view that you have on COVID-19. By now, there's not just two sides of the coin. There's about 7 different sides of this coin. It is such a political issue. I think all of us would have to truly say, yeah, I'm seeing this through some sort of political lens right now. And I want these following sentences to be heard not political. This isn't about pandemic. This isn't about Fauci and Bill Gates. Don't give me that stuff right now. I want you to hear this through one word, and that is simply serving. This isn't a political rant. This is wisdom from the leadership at North Coast about when we are going to open doors. And let me tell you, this has absolutely nothing to do with our religious freedoms. Can I say that again? This has nothing to do with our religious freedoms. The moment our local government, our county government, our state or federal government says large groups can meet everywhere except for churches, this is a religious freedom issue, and I promise you, the leadership of this church will take a very different stance. But right now, this is about wisdom, not about our religion. Our county, our government, our church has never closed North Coast, and as these figures have just demonstrated, you cannot close the church. They simply closed buildings for good reasons. So in the days and weeks to come, when you hear about doors opening for buildings, when you hear about churches trying to push in the next couple of weeks to open doors, that is their right. And let me tell you, there are some incredibly great churches on both sides of this issue. Great churches that say we got to get our doors open in the next 2 weeks. Let me tell you why your church, North Coast, will not be one of those. And it all comes down to one word. Are you getting this right now? So let me run through this. Right now, to open our doors, we have to do so much in the area of social distancing paradigms to make sure we're protected. People can't touch, they can't hug, they can't shake hands, you have to have masks on. We greatly reduce the amount of people that can be in one of our programs. In other words, for a building that holds 600 people, only 80 can get inside. You have to have 2 rows open in front of where someone is sitting and 2 rows behind. So only 1 out of 5 rows can have people in it. In that row of people, you can have a family of 4 sitting together, but 4 open seats before someone else. So 4 seats, a couple of 2, 4 seats, another couple of 2, and that's it. 8 people for a row of 20, in other words. We started doing the math, and you guys go to North Coast, you know, every one of our venues are packed. We have 60 services a weekend that are completely packed. And if we're going to cut that number down and do social distancing, we have to offer 420 services a weekend. Did you catch that number? 420 services a weekend if we allow the 6-foot rule and people not sitting together in open rows in front and behind. And can I tell you what a bad product we'd be rushing to put out? Everyone's going to be wearing a face mask. You can't hug. You can't touch. Man, this isn't church. Let me tell you how we're also going to serve our community and saying we're going to want to be one of the last to open, not one of the first. You're not going to be allowed to worship. Boy, if this thing is spread through breath and through water molecules, and you can't worship, you can't sing, you can't project with people around you, that would not be serving our community and serving each other. I don't care what side of the coin that you find yourself on this issue. And people, we don't want to rush to open a church where you can't express love, you can't give hugs, you can't shake hands, and it's for a limited few. And let me now drill into that limited few a little bit. See, the first thing we're going to have to say is if you're over the age of 65 and have any pre-existing health conditions, you can't come right now. It wouldn't be wise. What kind of church does not allow our elderly to come? What kind of church says those of you that are sick and needy, you can't come? Man, this is a place for the sick and those that are in need right now. See, we all know that right now, any pre-existing conditions, you're higher at risk for this virus. And pre-existing things have to do with age and any medical condition. Well, what about our non-clinical pre-existing conditions? What about non-clinical pre-existing conditions? You say, Chris, what do you mean that? I've talked to so many couples in their 20s here at North Coast that say, hey, when you do open the doors, we ain't coming back. I go, well, why is that? Because we have our first kid. And as soon as they said we had our first kid, the light bulb went on in my head. Hey, those of you that have had kids, remember what it was like your first kid? I immediately flashed back to Amy and our first child. Heck, I wasn't allowed to pick up or touch Sailor for the first 4 months, let alone be around strangers with a virus going on. I mean, Amy was so protective of first kid, and I thought, man, I get this. You know what your non-clinical, pre-existing condition is for a lot of our families? We have small children. We're not bringing them here. If our public schools aren't allowed to open right now and put kids in the classroom, what are we doing as a church saying we are going to jam our Sunday school classes full of kids? And what young parents are going to bring their kids and say, put my kid in there with 80 other kids? I don't know what family they come from, where they've touched, what they've sucked on or slobbered on. Just put them in there. People, it's not going to happen. We saw brother and sister churches in Texas this last week do this pandemic opening with social distancing standards in mind. And they did surveys of their congregants, mega churches in Texas. 2/3 of their people said, we don't want to show up to a program like that. And so we started looking at that going, why are we rushing to put together a bad program? You know what other pre-existing non-clinical conditions are? So many of you are taking care of elderly moms and dads. So many of you right now have a loved one at home that does have another medical condition. And you go, I don't want to be out in public because of what it might bring back to them. And we want to be sensitive of that. I was talking to one of my African-American pastors this past week because some comments I said on a webinar 3 weeks ago about why North Coast is in no rush to open these doors. And 4 pastors now from the African-American community have talked to me in the last 5 days and said, Chris, thank you. Thank you for being a white leader that's speaking in our behalf. And I said, I don't even get what you're talking about. Ricky Jenkins, a pastor of Southwest Community in the Palm Springs area, I love him and a huge church in our denomination. He said, Chris, I have a pre-existing condition. And I said, what is it? And he says, I'm black. You see, you like me, if you've been following this pandemic more than ever before, you've had a little fact in your head. For a myriad of reasons, COVID-19 disproportionately affects the African-American community far more than the Caucasian community. You see, church, I had that as a fact in my head. I never had that as a feeling until I talked to the African-American pastors who are wondering why white churches are in such a rush to open when they're trying to protect their community. And can I just say this? I don't know if it's apology. It's just a statement. I think like a white guy in America. That's the way I've always thought. And thank God for friends in other ethnic communities right now that said, we are taking this far more serious. Have you ever thought about us and our people? And I had to apologetically say, no, I had a fact in my head that you're disproportionately affected. I never had that as a feeling. Man, if our word for today is serving, what are we doing to so many other ethnicities in our community saying we're in a rush to open when everything in their heart and family is saying we don't want to be around crowds right now? You see, I don't want to be a church that rushes to open its doors and sparsely fill auditoriums with a bunch of 20 to 30-year-old Caucasians who think they're healthy, who can't touch, who can't sing out loud, and we're going to call that church. You see, I read you facts at the beginning of this message of how you have served the community. Let me tell you, North Coast, how we prolong our opening is going to tell our community how we actually love them and we're considering them. Why are we getting ahead of their schools and their crowd gathering just to fill our auditoriums? And see, we just don't want to go there. Church has never been closed, only our buildings. Here's what my dream is. My dream is that we've actually put money where our mouth is. We have been saying for years, North Coast is not about the weekends. We have been saying for years, North Coast is about what happens in homes during the week, not what happens in our crowds. We have been saying for years, church happens in circles, not in rows. Church happens where you can have dialogue, not just in monologue. Church happens in homes, not buildings. Oh, my dream is, my hope is, and we all know things can change every week, that for the next few months, we're allowed to meet in groups of 20, 30, maybe up to 50 here in California. And my dream is we start resembling the good part of the church in Acts. We start having home church. We start having viewing parties. We invite all of you. Don't watch church alone unless there's a reason for you and your family that's wise, and then stay with wisdom. For the rest of you, start watching in your life group. For the rest of you, start watching with friends and neighbors and get small groups in homes and have viewing parties, have barbecues in church, have Sunday brunch and church. Start inviting over people. And you know what's going to happen? We're going to start connecting in conversation. It's easy on our large campuses to come in 10 minutes after service start, to slink in somewhere in the third or fourth song, to catch a message, and in the closing prayer, rush back to our cars so we can beat the traffic and never really connect. That will be hard to do in living rooms, won't it? You're going to have to show up and have small talk. You're going to have to show up and you're going to have to invest in people and listen to them try to invest in you. Afterwards, you can't just run away. You have to sit around and have small talk. And connection is going to start to happen. And we're going to be about churches that happen in homes. Oh, church, let me tell you, that is my passion and that is my dream. 1 Peter 5 has given us as leadership a very clear command of God. It says, now to the elders of the church, I want you to understand that you are shepherds of God's flock. Protect the sheep. So in this day and age, where the sheep haven't been allowed to all gather out in the field, they've all been closed up in barns. I don't want to be the shepherd that goes, how soon can we open the gates? How soon can we get them all back out in the field? How soon can we get them all back together? When I know there has been a danger out in the field, why would I rush to put sheep back out like that? And your leadership here says, we won't be the first church to open, we'll be one of the last. We want to make sure that field is clear. We want to make sure sheep can get back together again. We want to make sure that the flock can be healthy. See, we're not trying to protect sheep from wolves. We're trying to protect sheep from other sheep at this time. Other well-meaning sheep that don't realize they're already infected or they're asymptomatic. We want to protect sheep from sheep at this time. So I do have another meeting Monday with the county supervisors. They're the ones that set our health standards for San Diego County. And once again, timelines seem to change every week. But I want our church to know from our heart why we are doing this. This isn't politics. We haven't bought into some stupid pandemic video that's out there. We are doing this out of wisdom and out of serving our community and serving you. So when you hear doors opening with a smile on your face and hopefully with a heart of love, you can go, my church won't be the first. We're going to be one of the last. They're going to make sure this is safe and loving. And heck, right now you're meeting at home. Right now, you can sit in your PJs, you sit on the couch. I'm teaching. I got shorts and I'm barefoot right now. You're sitting there with your favorite beverage in your hand. How can you beat that? Ain't no law against drinking claw. And we're just going to keep on doing like this in homes. Do we got that? Sweet. Hey, let me move on from that and just talk about April really quick. Let me tell you about April. We still got a few things that are coming in from credit cards and some small expenditures, but I am amazed at April, and I got to thank you because of how that's right, we're talking about serving. See, we plan to lose money every week because we're not taking our regular offerings. Many of you are giving online, but it has been 8 weeks since we've had people in an auditorium and to take an offering. We lost some money in March, and we braced ourselves for April, and here's all I got to say about this. In April, we didn't lose money. In April, we broke even. In fact, right now, we're about 4 days away from totaling out April, but it looks like we've actually made money to pay for whatever we lost in March. Isn't that amazing? And I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Our staff holds their breath every month saying, are our salaries getting cut? Are we still having jobs? Unfortunately, like so many of you. And in April, I just want to say thank for those of you that gave and gave beyond. We have no idea what May, June, and July looks like. We know a lot of our families have lost jobs and hurting, and they have to cut tithing because you can't tithe on zero. And I want to thank those of you in April that stood and said, hey, we're going to give a little more and keep all the ministries of North Coast going, all the community service and love that's pouring out. In fact, so much so, we are going to do something to help another church, but you got to wait till the end to get into that. You know what you guys remind me of? You remind me of the church in Acts that we've been reading about. That's meeting in homes and that has an outpouring of love. In fact, what a segue. Join me in our study of Acts chapter 6. In Acts chapter 6, we pick up on, we turn the corner, and we're about to move into, well, Chris, don't you know it's Mother's Day? Hold on to that thought for a second. In Acts chapter 6, we pick up a new story of a guy named Stephen in verse 8. And I want you to read this with me and take a little jump about serving. Acts chapter 6, verse 8. Now, Stephen, a man full of God's grace and power, circle, highlight, underline, full of grace and power. And why do that? Can I just tell you, the chicken does come before the egg on that. Before you have the power of God in your life, you got to understand God's grace. What's that mean? Stephen, first time we heard of him in our story so far. But here's what we know about humanity. He is broken. He is incomplete. He cannot get to where he wants to go by himself. And he doesn't deserve God's love, and he can never live up to it. And yet he has received it. When you understand that about yourself, that's grace. And because of God's grace in your life, now you have a new sense of self, a spirit of God in you, and now you have God's power. And watch what happens. He did great wonders and miraculous signs among the people. Now, opposition arose, however, from members of the synagogue and the freedmen, as it was called, Jews of Cyrene and Alexandria, as well as the province of Cilicia and Asia. And these men began to argue with Stephen, but they could not stand up against the wisdom or the spirit by which he spoke. Then they secretly persuaded some men to say, we have heard Stephen speak words of blasphemy against Moses and against God. So they stirred up the people and the elders of the teachers of the law. And they seized Stephen, they brought him before the Sanhedrin, and they produced false witnesses who testified, well, this fellow never stopped speaking against the holy place and against the law. We've heard him say that this Jesus of Nazareth will destroy this place and change the customs Moses handed down to us. And all who were sitting in the Sanhedrin, their high court, looked intently at Stephen, and they saw that his face was like the face of an angel. What is the deal? Here's another new Christian walking in a time of adversity and opposition. Here's another new Christian walking in a time where Christians are kind of sheltered at home, where they're facing opposition from their government and from their religion at this time. And here's what they're pinning them on. You can't blaspheme Moses and God. You can't curse Moses and God. Now, maybe we would understand. You can't curse God, but how did Moses get thrown into there? So here's what we're going to do. Stephen's about to answer these guys with an entire sermon. That's chapter 7. And he's going to go all the way back and cover the entire Old Testament in one sermon. And over the next few weeks, Christopher and Larry and I are going to jump into, and we're going to take Old Testament pictures and catch us all up on the entire Old Testament to Jesus using Stephen's sermon. And I want to pick up on Moses on this right now. Why Moses? Why is he such a big character? Jump to chapter 7, verse 20. In chapter 7, verse 20, in part of this sermon of Stephen, it says this. Now back at that time, Moses was born, and he was no ordinary child. For 3 months, he was cared for in his father's house. When he was placed outside, Pharaoh's daughter took him and brought him up as her own son. And Moses was educated in all the wisdom of the Egyptians and was powerful in speech and in action. And if you don't know the story of Moses, this leaves you wondering what's going on. And yet every good Jewish Hebrew person in the first century, the moment you speak Moses, everything clicked in their head. They knew the story. They knew the beginning. They knew that this guy would come in and be the rescuer of their nation, their slaves when they were in Egypt. They know that this guy writes the first 5 books of the New Testament, Old Testament, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, the Torah, the books of the law, by which all of your temple rites, all of your sacrifices, all of your holy holidays, all of the priests and all of your law come from. This guy sets up the very foundation of Judaism. And that's what they're getting Christians on. You guys are disregarding the Old Testament. You're blaspheming the Old Testament. And Stephen goes, no, let me tell you about Moses and what I know about him. And I want to give you a picture of what he's saying. Turn to the second book of the Bible with me. Exodus chapter 2. You see, I read that we were talking about Stephen this weekend, and immediately I told myself last week, well, we're not going to do Acts. I want to do a Mother's Day message. But I started reading the story of Stephen, and it all comes down to this guy Moses, and I realized this is the most beautiful Mother's Day passage in all of Scripture. And if I could pick one passage on Mother's Day to talk about, it would be Moses, and it would be that beginning that Stephen refers to, that every Jewish person would understand, and we need to go back and take a look at. Exodus chapter 2, verse 1. Now a man of the house named Levi married a Levite woman, her name's Jochebed, and she became pregnant and gave birth to a son. When she saw that he was a fine child, she hid him for 3 months. But when she could hide him no longer, she got a papyrus basket for him, coated it with tar and pitch. Then she placed the child in it and put it among the reeds along the bank of the Nile River. His sister stood at a distance to see what would happen to him. Incredibly strange to do with a 3-month-old, unless you go back and understand chapter 1. Pharaoh has now enslaved the Hebrew people. The Hebrew people are all slaves in the mighty Egyptian empire, but he sees how numerous they have grown over the last couple centuries, how they keep reproducing, and he decides to eradicate the entire Jewish nation. So see, that wasn't something Hitler came up with. That goes back to page 2 of the second book of the Bible. Pharaoh wants to end the Jewish race, and so he makes a decree. Every male baby that is born of the Hebrews, you take it and you throw it in the Nile River. We get rid of all the male children, and over a generation, well, There won't be any generations of Jews anymore. And Jochebed gives birth. And in what should be a joyous occasion, her heart sinks. We're way before sonogram. She sees for the first time it's a male child. She tries to hide him for 3 months, but his lungs are getting stronger. His voice is getting stronger. And the cries at night are given away. There's a baby in the neighborhood. And when she can't hide him any longer, she ironically does what the government says. Throw him in the Nile. She, however, makes a basket, does pitch and tar. She waterproofs it. She puts in his favorite little blankie. She sets him in it. She takes him down and she puts him in the reeds. I know you've seen the cartoon where he's going down the rapids and crocodiles are trying to eat him. It's a great movie, but not scriptural. No mom takes that kind of care and just tosses her baby down the white water. She puts him in the reeds. That basket isn't going anywhere, but she can't stand by and watch. Why? Because she's a mom. But she has raised a daughter. She has raised a daughter of strength and of courage and of wisdom. And she's about to come into play in this. And she is standing there keeping her eyes on that basket. That's my little brother. Now I promise you, church, Jochebed knows exactly what beach to put this basket in. This isn't a beach where the poorest of the poor or the slaves go. She has picked a beach where the wealthy go and bathe. I promise you that. And watch the story. Then Pharaoh's daughter went down to the Nile to bathe, and her attendants were walking along the riverbank. And she saw the basket among the reeds, and she sent her slave girl to get it. And she opened it, and she saw the baby, and he was crying, and she felt sorry for him. This must be one of those Hebrew babies, she said. Then his sister asked Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and get one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you? Yes, go, she answered. And the girl went and got the baby's mother. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, take this baby and nurse him for me, and I will pay you. So the woman took the baby and nursed him. And when the child grew older, she took him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she named him Moses, saying, I drew him out of the water. And when Stephen stands in the first century in the early church and says, you're trying to accuse me of going against the laws of Moses, let me tell you the story of Moses. Every Hebrew listener would have known about their hero, the savior of their people, and known Exodus chapter 2. And every Hebrew listener that day would have immediately thought Mother's Day. Jochebed. When you hide a baby for 3 months against Pharaoh's demands, you are putting your life, your husband's life, and your other children's life in peril and danger. They will kill you, and they don't need a court to come up with that. Now that she can't risk it any longer, she puts him in the reeds in a strategically placed, and she has raised a daughter of incredible strength, incredible wisdom, who stands and watches, who doesn't rush in and rescue her little brother that she has helped hold and nurture for the last 3 months, but she stands and waits hearing the cries. And when she sees that basket is picked up by the enemy, she steps forward with a plan. Hey, if you want to keep it, you can keep it. You know you can do that. I mean, you can't run down to the 7-Eleven and buy formula in that day and age. But you know there's Hebrew women that have lost their babies and they can still nurse a baby. You want me to find one for you? And Pharaoh was like, I guess I'm going to keep the puppy. And Moses' sister runs home and gets her mom and brings her back. And Pharaoh's daughter says, I will pay you to nurse this baby until he's weaned. And Moses' mom, Jochebed, now gets paid from the castle treasury to raise her own son. But after a couple of years go by, probably somewhere toddler, probably in Jewish customs, 3 or 4, he's weaned. She will take him back to Pharaoh's daughter. And Pharaoh's daughter names him Moses. Oh, you know Jochebed had a name for her son. You know there was a family name they called Moses for years. And now she has to hear one from the castle rename her son in front of her. This is a mom that knows what it's like to serve. This is a mom that is an example of all of you moms on this weekend. Can we all just say thank you? Thank you for carrying us for 9 months and making sure that we're born. Thank you for giving us life for those next few years. Thanks for allowing us to grow up. Thanks for your traits that you've given us. Oh, I have 2 teenage girls at home that are fierce, and right now that makes me fearful, but I keep in mind that's going to make them ferocious women one day on the side of good. Why? Because they were born to a West Texas dad. Nope. Because I'm going to screw up raising daughters, I tell you that, because they have a mom who is ferocious and fierce and wise, and she has raised daughters to be like her. To my mom, who raised me and then realized this kid will go wherever he wants to go and I can't stop him. And the only thing she could do for 6 years was pray every night for a son who wanted to be his own God. Until one day her God got a hold of my heart. Mom, thanks. Thanks for moms that give of their time, the extraordinary amount of time, their sacrifice, their trust, their strength. You see, moms serve. It's why we pick up in the book of Acts, Stephen saying, may I remind you, the act of salvation for our people starts with Mother's Day. May I remind you as Christians, all we're called to do is serve. May I remind you, we follow a God that serves. In your homework this week, you're going to look at Philippians 2 that just begs us, oh Christian, have the same mindset of Christ, who even though he was God, did not consider his own position and title and reputation to grasp and held on to, but he set it aside, making himself a servant. You're going to look in your homework how Jesus implored in his disciples, don't try to be great, don't try to be number one, but outserve everyone around you. It was Jesus 10 miles away from the cross. He goes into Jericho, the last city he will walk into and out of without a cross on his shoulders. 10 miles away from his crucifixion. If there was ever a time in history where someone had the right to say, man, I'm carrying the weight of the world on my shoulders, it was then. If there was ever a time in history someone had the right to say, I got to take some time and just work out my own stuff. I got to focus on my own problems. It was then. And yet in Jericho, he stops at the gate for blind Bartimaeus. Inside the gate, he stops for Zacchaeus, who's up in the tree. He stops for those who are in need when he's got enough problems of his own. And may I remind you, it was the last night of Jesus' freedom. In the upper room, he washes his disciples' feet. And he makes it clear, even the Son of God didn't come to be served. Get being served out of your head. I have come to serve. Now that you have seen what I have done to you, you will be blessed if, circle, highlight, underline, you can serve others. You're not going to be blessed as a Christian if you think that this is a time you should get yours, you deserve yours. When do someone serve me? You're going to be blessed when you serve others. You see, the key word for today is simply serving. It's how you serve the community. It's how we're going to serve the community by being one of the one of those to open, not one of the earlier. It's how we serve each other at this time. It's what moms do on Mother's Day. It's why we love you and why we thank you, and you have our adoration and praise. Your homework this week is going to take a deep dive into serving. So just in case you missed the point, grab your note sheet. I only got 2 fill in the blanks, and then I got 2 short videos. I'm going to tell you what you've done to another church. Just in case you missed the point. Serving is not an option in the Christian life. It is the Christian life. You can't serve Christ until you serve like Christ, because both are the same. You can't call yourself a Christian unless you've dedicated to serving like Christ, because we are Christ-ians. We are one like Christ, and he came to serve. So serving is not an option in the Christian life. It's not that, well, I've been a Christian for a while, I think I'll try that next step in serving. No, it's what you signed up for. It is serving. That is the heart of Christ, which means, secondly, this: we are never closer to the Holy Spirit than when we are serving. And we are never further from the Holy Spirit than when we are expecting to be served. Did you get that? We are never closer to the Holy Spirit than when we are serving. We are never closer to the Holy Spirit than when we are serving. We've been talking about the Holy Spirit in the book of Acts. Well, the Spirit's in us, but how do I walk in the Spirit? How do I remain in the Spirit? You start serving others. You say, well, Chris, if the Holy Spirit's in me, how can I be closer? I'm talking about a closer walk, walking in step with. That Stephen was a man full of grace and power. He didn't just have the Spirit and love of God in his life. He walked in power when he served others. You see, the Spirit has been put in our life to make us better servants, to make us like Christ. So you're never going to walk closer in step with the Spirit than when your mindset is, I'm going to serve others. And you will never be further from the purpose of God, the Spirit of God in your life, than when you're sitting at a time like this going, how come no one's serving me? How come no one's blessing me? Because you will not find that in the mind of Christ. You will not find Jesus himself, the one guy in Scripture that deserved to be served, sitting around going, how come people aren't serving me? In every page you will find him serving, serving, and serving. You want to walk with the Spirit of God in grace and power. Change your mindset and go, I'm going to outserve people. You say, well, where does that start? I'm glad you asked. Number one, it starts with serving those around you. Right now, our homes are showing the strength of our marriage and our relationship with kids, or the weakness of our marriage and our relationship with kids. All of our activities, from golf to fishing to going to the gym to shopping to mall to movies to dinners out, they've all been struck away, and we're left with each other. And 8 weeks into this, the cracks are starting to show. You want to change that? You start serving who you're with right now. You outserve your spouse, not because they deserved it, they've earned it, but because you are a Christian, pure and simple. You say, Chris, that's unfair. The Christian life is incredibly unfair. Do you think Jesus got treated fairly? Of course not. And we're called to be like him? See, that's the problem. I want to be a Christian. I just demand to be treated a whole lot better than Christ was. Well, it sounds kind of funny when I say it out loud, but I tell you, that's what's wrong with the heart of Chris at times. Oh, I want to be a Christian. I want the blessings of God. I want heaven. I just demand to be treated a whole lot better than his son. And his son showed us how to walk through unfairness and still serve. You want God to work in grace and power in your marriage? You outserve your spouse. I don't care who they are, in your tone of voice and how you treat them and what you do. You want fairness? Find another God. There's a lot of gods out there, lowercase g. Find another religion. There's religions based on fairness. This book and the one true God will not be about fairness. He said, you're going to show the world that you're a Christian by how you unfairly love them and how we unfairly don't open our doors too soon just to get people in the seats. But we will sacrifice more offerings just to let our community know that church isn't in a rush to harm us. That church is thinking about us, not just them. And they're still serving and still having church in homes. Let me tell you the second way. Serve those in greater need than you. I don't care what need you're in right now. There are still people in greater need. You guys in the last few weeks have just resoundingly showed people that you're about to serve. Not just physical need, not just financial need, but spiritual need. Jesus stopped for the rich guy in town, Zacchaeus, because he knew he was spiritually poor. There are people all around you in greater financial and health need and definitely greater spiritual need than you. And there is something Jesus showed us. The closer he got to adversity, the more that he served. There's an example there. The more you're in adversity and you tend to focus on yourself, you're going to become depressed, you're going to become disappointed. The more you can focus on others, the more the power of God is going to give you the joy and the power in your life to serve. When we hit adversity, we've got to start serving others, which brings me to this powerful closing. Many of you know that you have bought the land and built 3 churches in Ecuador. We sponsor over 3,000 kids through Compassion International. Every kid linked daily to a local church, every kid now with education, with clothing, with food, and every kid with their medical needs taken care of. In parts of the world where families could not provide that for their children. Over 3,000 kids North Coast now sponsors. 3 churches that you have built, all are in Guayaquil, Ecuador, the largest city in Ecuador. We've been so focused on our own national news. I don't know how much you've looked at the world news with this pandemic. I've been keeping up with Ecuador and Haiti because we do so much ministry there. And Ecuador in the last few weeks has been one of the most disastrous places on earth. People are dying so quickly and they don't have an infrastructure to care for it that they're asking families to keep their loved ones at home for 3 to 5 days after death. In a country on the equator that is over 90 degrees every day and about 93% humidity, I don't think I have to explain that picture to you. So families right now are laying the bodies of loved ones in front of the houses, trying to wrap them in cloth and plastic, waiting for military trucks to pick them up in heaps. And I've been in touch with the pastors of our churches down there, saying people are still flocking to their churches now more than ever because they just need hope and they need prayer. And me and several of your campus pastors were down there just a month before this outbreak, just in February. And we went to those 3 churches. And before this virus hit, we saw the joy on their faces. And I want to catch you up just 2 minutes on the lives that you are impacting in Ecuador. This is what you're doing in Ecuador. These are your churches. These are your people. It looks like this. Hey North Coast, everything you saw here because of your giving to put up a building, but a church isn't a building. Our church is run by our incredible director, Rodolfo, who does all the kids here with compassion. Our pastor, Stalin here, who just pastors daily, weekly in this village. And then senior pastor, Freddie. He's got a church that's planted 9 churches in this area. This is the guy we're working with. He's producing the leaders. We help produce the cinder block and the metal and the structure. And you guys have joined with this church here in Ecuador to do something amazing in this village and 2 others. Thanks, North Coast.
It is about 90 degrees out here, 94% humidity. It feels like 102, and we've just met this family that you see behind me. Their 2 little kids, their baby, and heard the most amazing story about how just a half a year ago, both mom and dad were addicted to drugs. The baby was born addicted to drugs, and yet because they came to the church that you built, they found Christ, they found hope. He's found a job, they're clean, and what an amazing turnaround. And so we're just taking you inside their house to show you where they live, and it's just one more life, one more family that you've impacted in such an amazing way. A lot of the kids are in the classroom working on their creation crafts. We're about to feed them lunch. This is going to be an amazing day to see some of the lives that you're impacting in an incredible way.
Oh, I tell you, on behalf of North Coast, it was so amazing to get the cheers when we came into those villages, to get the hugs that we came into the villages, to walk into all these bamboo homes and to see your pictures of kids that you have sponsored. You see, we didn't just build 3 churches. All of you have sponsored the 900 kids that go to that church, and therefore their families now attend on the weekend because of the way you are loving kids. To talk with the pastors and to walk around and to hear stories like I shared of life after life after life that has been touched in amazing ways, simply because you said, we're going to do this. We've been saved to save others. We've been blessed to bless others. This is an area outside of North County that we have chosen to bless. I know it's hard to imagine. I know so many of us are looking at our own homes right now and wondering, where our income is or how we're going to keep ourselves safe. I just want to give you a 40-second glimpse into one of the homes that we were privy to walk into. Now, this is the largest of the homes we were in. This is, if you will, the most opulent of homes. They had electricity running in and television going on. So I want to show you one of the nicest homes in Ecuador that we visited. Just 40-second glimpse. It looks like this.
So we have a very typical household of some of the kids that are in the Compassion Project. We've been invited inside. Watch your step. The entire family sleeps in this corner. They showed us the baskets that they make. And then there's a little kitchen area in here. And there's your very typical home in the mountain regions of Ecuador.
Oh, I know you're sitting there going, but you can see right through the walls, and there's really no roof, and the whole family sleeps on those 2 mattresses that are pulled away, and that's it? Yeah. And if you notice, the only tin roof they had was over the one corner of the house where the family sleeps. Everything else gets flooded if it rains. And you go, if it rains, it is Ecuador. It is on the equator. It rains constantly there. And I know it, and they know it. And in plastic Ziploc baggies on the wall, so the photos don't get ruined and the letters don't get drenched, they would unzip the baggies and show us pictures of North Coasters and the letters. And moms would say, this is who's loving my kids. Do you know them? Jay Folk, our campus pastor at San Marcos Escondido, would go, I know that family. I know that family. I know that family. And you guys are doing something amazing. So let me tell you, I told you that we had a month in April we weren't expecting because of your generosity. So much of us says, sit on that money. We don't know what the next few months are like, and we're going to be wise, good stewards. But next to one of our churches in the poorest areas of Guayaquil, infected the most right now with COVID-19, there is a spot of land right next door, right behind the wall of the church. And let me tell you what you did this week. Let me show you this little video. This is the property right next to the church that we were in, the church that met us. This is the back wall of the church. This property goes all the way down the hill. This little 2-story brick house is on this property. The property runs behind it and all the way up the fence line. And we're sitting there with the pastor and the director, and Kip Strawbridge from Carlsbad, and they're telling us, man, here's our dream. And while we're talking to them, the owner of that property came up and said, hey, can I help you? He said, yeah. We've got way too many people coming to the church next door. And he goes, oh, I hear the noises every day. I hear the screams of the children and the laughter every day. I love what you guys are doing to our community. I'm Catholic, but we have same God. What are you doing with this land? I hope to one day give it to grandchildren. Are you living in it? I'm not living in it. I'm renting it out right now. Would it be for sale? And over the course of a discussion, for $30,000, we can buy that land and build classrooms, put a wall all the way around it, and leave a dirt area in the middle where kids can play in the inner city of Guayaquil for $30,000. Because you have blessed us in April, I called the pastor Tuesday, and I said, hey, we're doing a compassion week for Mother's Day. Our church has already surprised us. We're giving you a check for $20,000. Buy that land this week. They can come up with the rest of the money. I think it's healthy for a church to have some skin in the game, for them to have some pride. It's not just a handout. But for $20,000, we are buying that land, and we are buying the cinder block needed for the walls, and their people can build out the classrooms of that church. And I wanted you to know, I'm not asking for money for that today. We are using April the way we've been blessed, not just to sit on it, to bless a church in one of the neediest areas in the world constantly, let alone at a time like this. And here's how I'm going to close today. I want to close today by asking about 800 of you. And I don't know the 800 of you. We ended our time in Ecuador there, realizing there are 2,189 kids wanting to be sponsored. Another 2,100 kids wanting to get involved in this church program. Moms that are waiting for someone to say, can someone help feed my kid, clothe my kid, and take care of my kid with any medical needs that come up. And that is a mom's greatest prayer. They're Jochebed. I've raised this kid. I've done the best that I can, but I can't keep them. Not in the way they need to be kept. And here's the problem with Compassion International. Spring is their time where they do all their compassion churches and they try to get people to sponsor more kids. Well, with all the churches in America closed, people have canceled all their sponsorship. And I called our partners at Compassion and I said, hey, you can't close North Coast. They've shut down buildings, but you can't close the church. We're going to do something on Mother's Day. A lot of you right now say, Chris, we're strapped financially. I don't know where the next paycheck comes from. I'm worried about my own family. Don't do a thing right now. Don't let this be a guilting. Fallbrook, you guys sponsor an entire village in India right now, and you got kids that need to be sponsored. Compassion has been kicked out of India because they preach the gospel. It's not just about helping kids. And so you've got a different route to go. Trent Jenkins, our campus pastor at Fallbrook, Monday is going to send you out an email saying, here's how you can sponsor a kid from our village, from the lowest caste system in India. Fallbrook, I need you guys to go there. For the rest of North Coast, if you're in a place right now where you can do $40 a month, plus write a letter at least every 3 or 4 months, because these kids hold on to and cherish those letters from you. Here's my hope. I want to make Mother's Day something different. I want 500 to 800 bamboo huts this week to get a knock on their door. And one of our pastors to say, Mom, your greatest prayer has just been answered. Somebody in a castle in America has just chosen to grab your kid out of the reeds and adopt them. You get to raise them. You get to name them. You get to keep them. But they're going to be taking care of their education, their clothing, their meals, their nutrition, and any medical help they need until they're 18 years old. Someone has just pulled your kid out of the reeds. And that's what we're going to do this Mother's Day. And I don't know who you are right now, but if you've been blessed in a way to bless others, man, I would hope you would take us up on this. We're going to make this easy for you. We're not going to end with a worship song. We're not going to end with a long prayer closing. We're just going to end with this on a screen. All you have to do is text the word mom. Just text mom to 83393. Text mom to 83393, and Compassion will send you a kid. Now, usually you can go to the table and look over all the kids and find the one that your heart goes to or the cuter one. You can't do that now. They're just going to say, here's a kid from our area in Ecuador that you can sponsor. It's going to be God's design for you. If you look and go, I don't want that kid, another text, I don't want that kid, please don't do that. Once they text you a kid, that kid is taken out of rotation for a week because they will never duplicate one kid with two families. So if you text a kid or you text to see what this is like and you have no desire to actually go through with this, please don't do that, because that life is taken out of rotation. And with the lack of churches sponsoring kids right now, we don't want to go down that road. Happy Mother's Day. May moms be an example for all of us of a life of Christ, and a life of Christ is serving. North Coast, may we continue to serve and love our community in all ways. May we serve and love each other. And if you're in a place where you can go, I can bless someone in the part of the world that desperately needs a blessing, text mom, 83393, or go on our homepage, northcoastchurch.com. There's a button to click there for Compassion and sponsor a kid. I love you guys. I'm proud to be a part of you guys. Thanks for serving. Thanks for being a Christian. It's simply people who serve. It's unfair, and it's where we receive the grace and power of God in our life. God, may we continue to be a church that blesses others. May we continue to be a church that never opens its doors just to have numbers and offering, but to constantly say, how are we loving and protecting our community? How are we thinking about them when we only think about us? And God, may you allow us to see we have been blessed to bless others, and may you use us for your kingdom, for your glory in miraculous ways. In Jesus' name, amen.